Hey guys, so just a quick heads up before we start this episode of the podcast. Me and Zirene talked about it and we've moved to a 2-week schedule for the podcast. This is just temporarily while there's not a whole lot going on in the TBC universe. So some weeks we don't want to force out a podcast where there's just no news. So we give it sometimes 2 weeks to let a bit of news build up, let Blizzard release some things for us to talk about, new metas to develop, things like that. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. If you're watching this on the time I upload this on the Wednesday, tomorrow is another special episode of the podcast. So we're going to cover news as usual, but I've also got a little bit of a list of raid hacks, I guess you could say. So things that your raid can do to improve the DPS of the entire raid as a whole. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy that. If you want to check it out, it will be live on my Twitch channel as usual. Link is in the description, twitch.tv/snowme. And before we start, I do have to let you guys know that this episode is sponsored by Skillshare. So back in 2010, I started with just an idea in my head, no idea how to turn my passions, what I love to do, my creativity into an online business, how to make videos, how to do marketing, how to do anything like that. And I went on Amazon.com and spent hundreds of dollars on programming books, on video editing guides, a whole bunch of things on Amazon. I had a whole stack of books that basically taught me slowly, piece by piece, how to do the things I do now. But these days, it's a lot easier. Times have changed, and that's because of Skillshare. Skillshare is an online community of thousands of classes and tutorials. You can learn everything from video editing to picking up new hobbies like photography or drawing. Those who watch my Twitch streams know I've been learning how to make documentary films in my spare time. So the class on creating a modern cinematic documentary film with Soul, with Dan Low, has been great for filling in the missing pieces in my filming skill set. And unlike YouTube videos, Skillshare has no ads. You're constantly getting new premium classes with zero ads to interrupt you. Here's the deal. This month, Skillshare is giving a 1-month free trial to my subscribers. So the first 1,000 people to click the link in the description below will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So if you've ever wanted to learn a new skill, or you're curious about something, or you just want to learn about a topic, Skillshare is a great place to start, and it's free right now if you're quick. So click the link in the description, check it out, and thank you Skillshare for sponsoring this video. All right, welcome guys to Prepared, your weekly TBC breakdown, episode 29 this week. We're back. It's been a little while. We skipped last week because it was a kind of a slow news week. There was basically nothing to talk about. So unless we did another custom episode where I just made up a bunch of things to talk about, we decided probably a good idea maybe to give it a week, get a little bit of news.
Another custom episode. When did we do one of those?
We did a whole guide on how to make your guild not suck or suck a little because you bring one rogue.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is actually very true. Yeah. I could tell you, being a raid leader and having multiple rogues in your raid feels really bad. And it doesn't actually feel good to have multiple rogues.
Well, the problem is as well is a lot of them were probably good players or are good players as well because they're coming in from Classic where rogues were like the pumper class, one of the pumper classes up there with the warriors, and then suddenly you're not that class anymore. And you have to re-evaluate what your existence in the raid is, which is usually providing utility now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but 2 people doing that, it's like you don't normally need that. 3 people doing that, hell no. Like it just feels like there's so little raid spots and having them be occupied.
I mean,
by
especially on the
rogues
nights when you do Vashj, for example, it feels bad bringing that second rogue when you're like, I could just bring another hunter. This would make this fight a lot easier. We had another hunter here right now.
Another hunter, warlock, mage, even just a ranged class. Yeah, it's unfortunate that it's that way, especially on that fight. But yeah. I
mean, what we've been doing because I don't know why, but somehow both my guilds have at least 2 rogues. One of them even has 3, which we somehow managed to do with a rotation system.
Aren't you in charge of some of this? We should be kicking people, right?
Well, we do have it.
What the hell?
We do have it where on Vashj, two of the rogues in our 3-rogue guild do swap out usually a lot of the time. Swap out to other classes because otherwise, I don't know, man. Vashj is just. I was talking about this to some of my guildies in the guild that I'm officer in now, where I was like, look, some nights we're gonna have the wrong comp for Vashj, and it might be better if we don't have 2 hunters and not enough range. I think we just go straight to KT and we not hurt ourselves on Vashj if we legit just don't have the range set up for Vashj instead of wasting our time, because Vashj is just so punishing if you don't have the right setup for it.
Yeah, people have been like, I'm trying to like try some things out on that fight and like some other ones too, because people have been saying like, if you're a Tauren, you can hit the Striders in melee and not get feared. But like I know as a warrior, you should just go on them and like people shouldn't root at shit like that and like be able to pump them down. But there's the engineering trinket, the Area 52 transporter. When it malfunctions, it makes you a person of the other race, makes you a horde character if you're Alliance. And if you log out, it changes which one it is. So if I get that backfire, I can log out and be a Tauren rogue. And then my fucking, it does change the hitbox too.
Wait, it changes your hitbox as well?
Mm-hmm. It's massive. It is massive. Being a Tauren rogue, I could like stand away from shit like really far while it was whirlwinding in TK and only have to take like one step out and then come back in. It was like really
so this
easy.
Is with like that orb item thingy that you click, or is this...
It's Area 52 transporter. It's the dimensional
ripper.
So
you have to get the backfire. How long does the backfire last?
It's an hour. It's an hour and it persists through death. Yep. Hour persists through death. And it I believe it ticks while you're offline though. So you can't like get it and save it for raid. You have to like get the backfire.
That was what I was gonna do. I was gonna get it and save it for raid.
I know, dude. It's like a new world buff. I was like, oh,
I would totally be down to come to raid as a Tauren rogue.
Yeah, because it's a debuff, and debuffs tick while you're offline. Buffs don't, right? So you can wait out buffs while you're offline. It's unfortunate. Yeah, it is what it is, I guess. But
here's a question though, Zirene. I'm curious to see what your take on this, because this is something I got in an argument with the other officers about, because we were implementing minimum consumable requirements for our raid, and we're like a semi-hardcore raid basically, and I was saying, look, we're 8 out of 10. I don't think we should be like forcing any scrolls on anyone right now until we get a 10 out of 10. Then we can like look back and be like, okay, this guy can be doing more DPS. Okay, this guy should be scrolling. He's in a contested spot or whatever it is. And I can see both sides, because the counter argument and why I had other officers arguing for mandatory scrolling and haste pots and everything right now, even though we're still progressing, is that the argument is that the melee spots are super contested, and if the melee want this spot, they should be try hard to have that spot. But I'm personally against that, because I feel like right now charging your melee, I did the math, you're spending something like 300 to 350 gold a week if you do the mandatory haste spots and the mandatory scrolling based on our total raid time.
That is if you do not wipe.
Yeah. That is
if you don't wipe
without wiping. And people are gonna down trash because they down trash so much as it is. And I was thinking, man, we finally got our roster kind of semi-stable. I don't want to burn people out on progression and scrolling. And at least in my opinion, the 5 or 10 DPS more they do with the scrolls isn't going to matter in the long run right now. Until it actually matters if we want to have a pass night or something. Yeah,
like I don't know. It burns holes in your pockets. I know dailies are out and stuff like that, and people can do those, but I feel like things drag if people don't consume. I feel like consuming on trash isn't a big deal, but for DPS check fights, it should be required. So like Kael'thas and Vashj, I think are the two that it should like really be required for.
The scrolls and the haste pots.
Yeah, because there's hard DPS checks on those fight, right?
Yeah.
And if you're not DPS making that DPS check, and people could have consumed you're griefing your raid. So those are the two that I would say like people shouldn't have to consume for fucking Fel Reaver. Alari maybe, because the like first phase is kind of a soft DPS check unless you guys are like actually decent at dealing with the Phoenixes. Solarian, you don't really have to like DPS check that. And it's the same thing like Hydros, not really. Lurker, no. All those other fights. So it's really just Vashj and KT that I think have like hard timers on things. So yeah, and the Vashj like DPS check is pretty pretty crucial.
Yeah, pretty crucial. If you don't hit it, you just wipe.
Yeah, it depends too. Like, are you guys going to require people to use like goblin landmines and have thornlings and stuff?
We are doing thornlings. We are doing thornlings right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
making people
so-
farm those. But I mean, right now we have to fix other stuff. We finally, last week was our first time finally getting a good rust in. We actually cleared everything really smoothly up to like the 8 out of 10 one shot Morogrim and such. But getting people to understand Vashj and KT is just because they've never seen it. They just have to wipe on it a bunch. They just have to wipe on it a bunch. There's no way around it. Even if our rust is good now, they just have to throw their heads at those fights. Because those are the fights where it's so hard to explain it to people. They have to kind of see it.
Yeah, you can explain it, and then when people see it, they'll be like, "Oh, that's okay. That's where I do it." Because it might be more complicated in their head or more simple, and then they just have to experience it. Yeah.
Yeah, I had the fun of we just let people see Vashj. We knew we had no chance because we only had 2 hunters that day and not enough range. So I was put on elemental duty. So I was just helping kill elementals, and behind me I'm just watching. Wow, these guys haven't killed a single strider yet. That's not a good sign. And I just see more and more striders popping up. I think that whole time they didn't kill a single strider on any attempt because the range didn't know what to do yet. They were still panicking with the nets and all that stuff. Yeah,
your DPS actually goes up a lot in that fight through repetition. There's so many times that I've done that fight, and then people have just like, it's felt like it's hopeless. Like I'm like, we're never going to kill this thing. Like we're not doing even close to enough damage on striders. Like, do I have to change people's position? Or like, what's going on? And then I'll like mouse over all of the hunters one by one in like the damage meter and see what their target was. And it's like basically all elementals. And you're like, they should probably shoot the striders while it's near them. Like it's basically, if you put a hunter in each quadrant, it's okay to let like one quadrant leak through with elementals when the strider's on that side, right? Yeah. Like, oh, strider's by me, DPS it. And it's like getting people to do that and actually swap and like be engaged with the game. Kind of hard, but it makes a huge difference. Like it changes your damage drastically every time you do that fight. You can do so much more once people are actually doing and hitting the right things. So
yeah,
I
agree.
Yeah. But I guess my take would be on if you guys are doing learning attempts and you know you're not going to kill it, you don't need to consume for Lady Vashj and stuff like that. You can do dry runs until it's called for. But all other things I think are not required. I would say no required consumes except for Lady Vashj and KT when we call for them, because those are hard DPS checks. But that's my opinion on a guild like that.
Yeah, I agree. That makes sense. It's kind of like a hybrid between the two, where you only use the scrolls where it's like absolutely necessary.
But your decision of whether or not to go above and beyond the requirements is taken into consideration. So it is not required that you consume.
But yeah, well, I mean, the interesting thing with like
good for you
with rogues, especially right now, is something we mentioned earlier was you are the utility in a lot of these things now. Like the KT fight, you are the guy doing a lot of the kicking, the mind control stuff and such. It's your DPS isn't really that big of a factor. You're sacrificing a lot of DPS to just run around and do utility things a lot of the times.
Yeah, like, I love that fight.
I'd almost rather, if I'm judging a rogue, I wouldn't even look at the DPS on that fight. I'd probably look at the kicks, the mind control removals, things like that.
The shit, yeah, the dispelling of that, the dispelling of mind controls, it's kind of like in order. It's like dispelling of mind controls, how much they contributed to kicks, and like what they did with the dagger, because like, you know, shiving 5 times on Thaladred into expose on Thaladred is way more powerful than having the rogue be on the 2 dudes.
Yeah.
Like what I do on that fight is I 5 shiv Thaladred expose, run over to the 2 guys that are I guess it's you stack them, right? Telonicus and Sanguinar. Pop Blade Flurry, Adrenaline Rush, get through all of my 15-second cooldowns, go back to Thaladred, shiv him one more time, and then expose him if I need to, or re-up expose. And then when everybody moves from Thaladred, you go and you do Capernian, right? You go shiv her 5 times into expose by going in and out on the arcane explosions and like baiting those. Like that's so much more useful, getting that 25% increased magic damage onto those 2 characters and expose for the hunters is way more useful than your DPS on like 2 targets. And you dump Blade Flurry Adrenaline Rush anyway, so your big spike of damage was already used anyway.
Zirene, I have you know that you are talking to the number one passing KT Rogue on the server for mutilate builds.
Congratulations. How many are there?
1.
Wait, actually, hold on.
I'm 1-on-1 on my server.
Faerlina. wait, is it on Faerlina or is
it's on whitemane? It's on whitemane.
Whitemane. Oh man. Whitemane rankings, poggers, bosses. This is CTK. Just Kael'thas. Damage. All specs. Assassination Rogue. It is just you.
It is just me. I'm like 11th, like top 20 in the world, man. I'm top 20 in the world.
Yeah, you're number 13.
Yeah.
How many are there in this page?
Oh yeah, I screen share so people can.
There are 100. There are 105. There are 105 people. There are 105 rogues that have put up a parse for Kael'thas.
Hey, it's even less on Vashj. I'm top 10 for Vashj because there was only like 50 something passes. Oh, I'm the only mutilate. I'm the only rogue on Vashj on my server, apparently. For mutilate rogue. Yeah, see, this is how you get number 1 in your server, guys. Just play mutilate.
Yeah, you're also the number 1. You're the number 1 rogue, and you're also the last rogue on your server. for mutilate.
I will say though, very fun for putting up exposed armor, even though your damage sucks, because you get it up in 3 globals. You legit get exposed armor up in 3 globals. And I found out when you're applying the debuff on KT, you actually apply 2 hits because it like counts 2 mutilates, I guess, when you do the mutilate, when you do the debuff on Thaladred in phase 3. So every time I mutilate, it does 2 debuffs.
Even though you're only using 1 dagger?
Even though...
Are you using 2 Infinity Blades?
I'm using 1. I put the Infinity Blade main hand, basically. But it applies 2 debuffs of it, interestingly.
Yeah. That's what I meant, is it applies 2 debuffs, even though you're only using 1 Infinity Blade.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Yeah. So that was an interesting. So, yeah. Not completely useless. It's just my trash damage was god-awful for the week I played Mutilate, because there's no poisons on the trash mobs.
Yeah, it looked really brutal.
Yeah, that's not good.
It looked really brutal for your raid. Not just.
Hey, my boss damage was good, and everyone knows boss damage is what matters, right, guys?
Well, I mean, when you're wiping to it, yes, yeah. Well, but that's what matters.
Did you see the Final Fantasy dev interview, by the way, with Asmongold and Rich? I saw bits and pieces of that, and all the time I was thinking, man, wouldn't it be cool if we had this in WoW? If they interacted with us like that, and the dev was all friendly and wishing us goodwill, and like actually, the interesting thing about the Final Fantasy dev is he knew personal details about like both Asmongold and Rich, so he was clearly like he did his research, he knew about them, he knew what they were up to.
Oh yeah, and like you know, Rich has been like Rich Campbell has actually been like really praised in the game because he plays a Lalafell.
Is that the little guy?
Yeah, he plays one of the little guys, and they have like a really bad reputation for like apparently being like just trolls and like stuff like that. And he's like up the, I think they're like the lowest played like race or something like that, and he like brought the population up a ton. Yeah. He brought up a bunch of like the Lalafell population is what people were saying, but yeah, he's somebody that like affected the game positively, and I think Asmongold has too, because Final Fantasy 14 has been they've been like starving for content creators that engage with the audience in the community, because people don't know about the community or how good it is or bad it is, right? Because they really haven't had too many vessels. So I think it's kind of ripe for that thing, for like those guys to come along. So I think it's actually a big deal. Yeah.
But I mean, guys, we will talk about WoW today. I promise. We do have a bunch of WoW topics. So
yeah.
But it is it was nice to see devs that care like that and interact with the audience like that and such. Man, I wish we had that in WoW though. But did you see all the season and mastery stuff they did, Zirene?
I have not. I saw
there's a lot of stuff.
I have legitimately, like, I've been walking and like I've been like browsing stream after stream, and I just see everybody wipe on the very first pull of Molten Core. Like Joker, they pull, they wipe. It's like fucking him on his Horde character, on his Alliance character. They do like 3 bosses total or something, and then they stop. God, every person I've watched is like died to the first pull, and people are running around with like tanks have like 7k HP buffed. I'm like, holy shit! Like with like Flask on, you're running around with like 7k HP. It's especially Horde side because you're you don't have kings.
Oh, I mean, they are nerfing Flask as well on top of some changes they're making. So
Yeah,
the first thing they did was buff the XP a little bit because it was 25% on quests. They bumped it
like
up to 40
now, right?
Yeah, but I still don't know like whether that'll be enough or like, there's still so much debate back and forth from people. The diehards don't want any XP buff. The other people want more XP even. They're going back and forth on that, and then they added the PvP round. But the interesting thing is all the stuff they did recently, which is they added the looking for group tool for one. So they added the looking for group tool in, which were very debatable. A lot of people don't like it. Some people, they say it takes away from the community, etc. But I honestly don't think it does. Not in the implementation they have in the game. There, it's literally just a group finder tool without that. You still need to. Well, you still need to do stuff. But the problem is, as someone said in the chat, I feel like the implementation they did of the looking for group tool just isn't that good though. It's not as good as the old add-ons that we had. What was that add-on that everyone used to use?
Looking for group tool or like the LFG one?
Yeah, the LFG tool.
Bulletin, yeah.
Yeah, that one was better. The downside of that one, the bulletin board, was that it constantly pinged, so you need to close it when you were raiding sometimes, or it would lag you out and such. But I feel that implementation was better to be able to visually see everything like that. Felt a lot nicer than the way Blizzard did it, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. But like people don't interact with it still, even if it's cleaner and stuff like that. Getting people to use it is like a whole nother step. So it's a little sad, but yeah.
Oh, I tried to use it for the Halloween event and such, and it's impossible. Like trying to find, it's maybe there's a special section for non-group areas, and I just gave up. I spent 2 minutes trying to find out how I could use the looking for group tool for the Halloween event, and then I just went to looking for group and just did it the manual way. I just gave up after that.
Oh, like typing?
Yeah. I just typed instead and just did it manually because the looking for group tool just I couldn't get it to work for anything that wasn't listed perfectly. But
it's just everybody just has to use the same thing. Otherwise, like LFG is useless, right? Like LFG works if everybody's in. Well, the problem was that everybody was in the fucking same channel, so the channel was just going a mile a minute in /4, or looking for group or whatever. So that was going a mile a minute, so you couldn't use it well, and that's why they wanted to like develop this type of thing, which is obviously the whole idea.
Yeah,
but everybody has to use the same thing. So,
but did you see that they added in all the mage nerfs? Did you see that?
I did not see that. Oh, let's get into that.
Yeah,
that'll be fun.
That's actually interesting because before, like, I was wondering what they were going to do with Season of Mastery, but this is actually interesting. So what they've done now is in the boosting spots, the creatures gain an immunity to snares 30 seconds after entering combat, and immunity to roots also 30 seconds after an additional 30 seconds. So basically, you can't snare or root them after a set period of time.
What about slowing?
I guess that it's any type of crowd control will reset snare. It depends on the zone, but yeah, they have other things like in Marauder and Stratholme, any type of crowd control except snares or roots will reset the snare immunity, root immunity, and speed buffs. Basically, it looks like they just make it. They want to make it so you can't kite them properly.
Wow. So they're just going, okay, fuck this shit. Let's see what the game would be like without it. So they're like making experience better for questing while simultaneously doing this. A lot of mages are going to be mad because it's how they make money, right? A lot of mages are going to be really fucking mad.
I mean, they can't
This is how
even
they
do
make money.
the ZF solo farm anymore.
Yeah.
It says here they're making the zombie trolls drop fewer lucrative treasures as well.
Yep. Because there are some farms, excuse me, where you don't have to actually slow them, right? They just run back and forth. So, damn. Mages are gonna hate me, but like, I think it's fine. I think it's fine. I think they should do this. I think they should do this. I think they should make the game, so that. Oh yeah, the mages are gonna hate me. I think they should make the game so that questing is like the main way. I guess the two things or three things I'd like to see is questing is like the main way to level up instead of grinding mobs, or doing dungeons with friends and stuff like that to just keep grinding them. It becomes really mindless grinding the same dungeon, resetting, etc., or getting boosted. Just feels really, really, really bad. So I like the idea of this. That's one of the things I'd like to see. The other thing is I'd like to see you not punished for grouping in the wild. Like I think actually having like being able to quest with your buddies and not have it like destroy your experience when you kill mobs would be nice. But I know that that's a problem because people would like boost like that or whatever.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, people in the chat are saying that it's not for all zones yet, but I'm sure if this works, they will apply it to the other zones as well. I don't see why they wouldn't. Like, obviously, they go to ZG and say, okay, well, you can't do ZG now as well. And they just try to find ways around it. Although it would not surprise me if players find a way around this anyway.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
As they do, players find pathing tricks or other things.
It will take longer.
Yeah.
It will just take longer, right? Like if the slow is not required and you can group them well, because you can only slow them during the first 30 seconds, right? That's still fine for like the pull, right? Like you're gonna be able to slow things and make it like fall behind you. That's totally fine. But as long as you can group them appropriately, you should be able to do pulls. It will just take longer. Unless it's like Mara where the things are different speeds. That's always a little bit weird. So yeah. Damn. I personally like it though, because I just want to see a game where you're encouraged to be out in the wild and not being like boosted and things like that. I know what's going to happen though, is it's going to mean that I don't know about you, but did you ever level during phase 2? I leveled my first alt, my paladin, during phase 2. That was really bad. I
leveled in phase 3 actually. Maybe it was 3.
It was really bad.
But yeah, it was really bad.
As soon as you hit 51, trying to get that sprint to 60 was fucking impossible. One, the dungeons people did then, nobody wanted to do like BRD. Nobody wanted to do Ubers or Lobers, especially for experience. But when they did, if you landed, you were horde food. So people are camping the flight paths.
I remember my leveling experience on my because I leveled my EU tune later, the one that ended up in progress. I leveled that one later, and the experience was people would give me money to go buy a boost because they felt so bad for me leveling the normal way with no one else. They'd be like, "Snow, you've been here for 2 hours. You've gained like half a bubble. Here's some gold. Go buy a boost." It's horrible.
Oh man.
So yeah.
This poor rogue, dude. He can't even.
This poor solo rogue with no one to group with.
I mean, they don't want to group with you. You have to be the leader of your group, right?
Yeah.
Also, I finally remembered what it was that I was thinking of. It was that Faerlina has actually changed a lot in terms of its population the last few weeks.
Oh,
it's
really?
shifted very heavily. It was 33. It was 45-55 like the last time we looked, right? In terms of population. Now it's 33-67. So
it is.
A lot of Horde have transferred. Who is transferred there? I think they're the Crom Crush Guild. Who is transferred to Faerlina? Space Force is on Faerlina now.
Wait, Space Force is on Faerlina? I had no idea.
I was told I was told the Space Force is coming to Faerlina or is on already. So
and Benediction is huge now as well. Benediction is gigantic. It's the biggest server. 19,000 players in Benediction now.
Yeah, it's where people are all heading.
Yeah.
So Faerlina is like the horde PvP server where if you want an arena and have arena partners, you go there. And Benediction is like the alliance safe haven from all of the horde. And it's like come enjoy where a place where you can actually group with people and you can make it to the instances, right? Yeah. So,
but yeah, I mean, we can talk a bit on that later as well. I have some graphs from New World and such comparisons and all that. But,
yeah. So if I type Space Force into WoW Classic logs, there and you go there, it says find us on Faerlina. So they're on Faerlina now.
Huh, interesting. Yeah, I had no idea. I guess they are. I haven't seen them around, but I guess they are on Faerlina now.
Yep.
But yeah. As far as the mage boosting stuff though, I agree. I like the concept of it in that they're trying to boost the XP from traditional methods and removing the XP from the methods they don't like people playing. I think it's functionally is going to be so hard to get people to follow along with this though, because players are players and I think the core issue of all of this mage boosting and such is that people don't want to level the normal way. So it's almost like you're taking away the thing that people are doing to solve the issues in that the normal way of leveling sucks for a lot of people. And you're not giving them a solution. So I'm not necessarily sure if they'll then say, okay, well, I'm going to level the traditional way. The danger there is, of course, that a lot of people will say, oh, well, I'm just not going to play then. Or I'm going to play for this amount of time and get bored and then be done. Right? And I mean, it's arguable. What will the side effect of this be? I think it's a good idea to try to fix the mage boosting. But I think they also need to make sure they're boosting the XP enough in other forms if they want to get rid of mage boosting. Because it's clear that even though there's a diehard community that loves leveling, that loves the hardcore experience and such, that there's a lot of people that after the first character, they don't want to do it again and they don't find that experience enjoyable anymore. So I think that makes it interesting. But
somebody's telling me that a mage did a line-by-line review and you can't use Frost Nova and stuff in an instance, even if you aren't boosting just in a regular group. Mages can't use CC in dungeons at all. I feel like the 30-second thing is probably what was introduced, though. I don't know. But somebody's telling me they can't CC at all, which kind of
interesting.
Yeah, kind of interesting in the middle of some polls. There's going to be a situation where you're going to feel a lot worse as a mage. Definitely going to feel a lot worse as a mage at some points.
Yeah, see, so someone in chat is saying that the leveling sucks when no one else is leveling, but without the boost and addition of everything else, they think that the leveling will be more active and thus more fun. See, that's the thing that I'm not sure if that's actually going to happen. Right, the ideal in the head is that, okay, we take away this alternative path, people will be forced to go down this other path. But I'm not sure if that will actually happen or if it will slow the decline by a short while, but then still end up at the same decline where you're in phase 2 or 3 and there's no one to group with still. I'm not sure if that actually solves the core issues. It just kind of patches it a little bit, but then you still have that core issue down the line, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be things that cause other issues. Every solution causes a different problem, and the question is that problem worth the solution, right? Yeah. If breaking something else, depending on how much you break it, was it the right solution? Like, is fixing mage boosting in a heavy-handed way still a net positive, right? Maybe. So that's what they have to debate. That's what people have to figure out, and that's what they have to balance is, where is that line of we're not fucking things up too much with this change to, oh, things are like getting real fucked up. So
yeah, but I mean, the really interesting one is this: they added let me see if I have it here. They added the Season of Mastery, Soul of Iron. Did you see this one? So they added hardcore WoW support potentially. So for people that don't know what hardcore WoW support is, it's you basically you have one life. It's basically your character dies and then your game's over, basically. So they added support for that through the NPCs that will basically like give you a buff kind of thing that makes it. And the hardcore run thing has been one of the more popular things on Twitch actually for classic streamers because let's be real, a lot of classic streams are very repetitive and there's not a lot going on. So hardcore has been a kind of a adjustment that some streamers have made or some streamers do where it gives stakes to what they're watching and people like to watch because if he dies, he dies forever. And it makes it interesting for the viewers. And people have seen viewerships going up by doing hardcore challenges.
Yep.
And Classic Season of Mastery is adding that in, which I think is actually really cool. I think that's actually a really cool thing to add in that they see people like this and they added it in. And I just think it's a good idea.
Yeah, the support for it is good. I just don't know how much it's
it's going to
how
be
much
done,
it's going to be. How much is going to be done. Like it depends on how quickly you can get up. Because like I play Diablo 2 and stuff like that. And a lot of people love hardcore in Diablo 2. They love it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of one of the big deals is they see, a lot of people in the community are doing hardcore challenges and a lot of people in Diablo 2 love hardcore. If we can make it like not a pain in the ass to, if you lose, like, because right now, if you did hardcore without like, a boosted experience or anything like that, good fucking God, would it be terrible? Like, it'd be so hard. Especially because you group with other people, right? Like somebody else wipes you. Right? That's the thing. In like Diablo, you're always like responsible for yourself. Here, it's like if somebody wipes you in like a group or a dungeon or something like that, it's pretty bad.
Wait, Zirene. So what you're saying is they're going to take the League of Legends solo queue experience and bring it to WoW, where other people can ruin your gameplay in a more efficient manner.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. Oh, shit. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's interesting that they're doing all these things. I mean, it's a good sign that they're doing all these things. I like to see that they're at least trying things. I wish they were trying more things with TBC, honestly. But it's nice to see that they're trying things. I still am of the mindset that Season of Mastery is going to be really popular at the start, because it's a new thing, and then it's going to die really fast at the same time. But obviously, time will tell. They did add in more raid testing though, as Zirene mentioned. A lot of people are going and wiping on Molten Core right now.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think things have more HP. They aren't necessarily doing more mechanics. Like Baron Geddon doesn't throw out like 2 bombs at the same time or something, make you have to change the whole fight and positioning.
Yeah, they added more HP to all the mobs and such. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how people like it. But I'm probably of the mindset that these changes will be interesting, but the problem has always been longevity of these servers, is whether they can last past a set amount of time. Because EverQuest actually, since WoW borrows a lot of ideas from EverQuest, how they did things, EverQuest actually did do an event server, and it actually was really fun for the people that did it. It didn't survive for very long though. It had the same problem where the novelty was there and people signed up in masses for it, but then it died out very fast at the same time. So it's very hard to keep people around is the problem. But yeah, Diamond Flask is nerfed as well. Did you see that?
Yeah, that's good. That is good because fuck Diamond Flask. As somebody who used Diamond Flask as a main tank, that item was broken beyond fucking belief. Like, you're literally the strongest fucking character in the entire game if you have a Diamond Flask set. Like, you make Lotheb really fucking trivial, right? You make a lot of mechanics really trivial if you actually use it. Makes Veil Stras easier. Makes a lot of fights a lot easier. Ones that have like healing checks on them. It's also like people didn't like that warriors were taking prot gear, fury gear, and healing gear. So
I'm trying to find a blue post, but yeah, they here we go. Yeah, they're nerfing in the Season of Mastery, they're nerfing Diamond Flask. I remember when Diamond Flask was discovered, and then all our warriors started, our sweatiest warriors started trying to get like Nell's tier and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Have you done any of the Halloween event, by the way?
I actually have not done any of the Halloween event. except eat candies. So
Yeah, so the interesting thing with the Halloween event is that the buffs are working in instances right now. Thankfully, the candies do expire in one day, so you're not under the obligation as a lot of sweaty players are, where, oh no, these don't expire if we log out. Okay, we save 200 raids worth of these candies now, so that we have that raid buff advantage. But no, thankfully they all expire in real time in one day or whatever it is. So you can't save these, thank God, because I don't think anyone wants that meta. But yeah, it's interesting that you can save them. Although I will say, I feel like this is starting to be the point where I start having things where it feels like a chore sometimes. When I'm logging on and doing my 5 Halloween lockouts, I think, man, what am I doing? Why am I doing my WoW chore right now? It's not that bad because Halloween event is so easy, but at the same time, I'm doing it because I want the sword with the clicky. It's another 3,000 DPS when I want to do my pass run or whatever it is, or 3k damage from the clicky. So I'm trying to farm the sword, and if I don't farm the sword, I know if I do go for that 99 and I'm short a few thousand damage, I'm gonna be angry that I didn't have the stupid Halloween sword. And it's a really minor thing, but it's like the start of where WoW started having all these little chores and power creep things where you do these things. Oh, you're muted, by the way.
I was like, it's the Brewfest thing too, right? Like, you wanted to have double trinkets and shit, so you got to do your daily Brewfest. Got to do your daily Brewfest.
Yeah. But, oh god, it's the start. It's the start, and then we see the end goal is like Tower of Torghast in retail right now, and things like that. That's the horrible end goal of where these go if it goes too far. But
yeah, I don't like that.
I'm already over the Halloween event. And by the way, I have done every lockout on both rogues. I still haven't seen the sword. So congrats me on having horrible RNG apparently. But yeah. So
how many lockouts is that?
That is 5 a day, and then 10 and 15 on the first day actually, because 5 a day and then 15 on the first day, because you could do 2 lockouts, and then if you were awake at like the 4 a.m. or whatever it came up, you could do one set of lockouts before it reset at like 10 a.m. or whatever it was. So that first day you could actually do like 15 lockouts, because the first time you do it, for people that don't know, you can actually summon him twice, because you get the quest that you can only do once, and then you get the daily as well. So the first time you summon, you can do it twice, plus the additional 5 from the early lockout when it went up. But yeah, I think now it's what, like 20 or 25 I've done. Although I do know someone that has done like 200 by using new characters to constantly come in and summon it just for the horsey.
I think they did they change the brooms too? I know the brooms, if it's the slow broom, it's still the fast broom because it's Legion client, where it's based off of your training that you have. So like the swift flight broom is 280, and if you get the normal magic broom and you mount it, it's whatever your maximum ability
Zirene,
to ride
I cannot
is.
tell you that because I do not have max flying speed on my rogues yet. My rogues are still... I have vowed that I will not get max flying speed until I get my gladiator mount, and then you see me farming the 5k gold for my max flying speed. Until then, they just have to summon me to every raid, because when we go from raid to raid, I'm the last person to get that.
You are actually the worst. I have it on 4 characters, and I hate myself because I have spent 24,000 gold on epic flying mounts across my 4 characters. It is fucking disgusting. Because my first one, it was like, I need epic flying on it, right? Because it's my warrior, it's my first character to 70, blah blah blah. It's got mining. Then it was like, I got to do my rogue next, and then it was like became a requirement that if you're in raid 1, you need to have epic flying. And I was like, to go from instance to instance, but also if you die in TK, you need to release, mount up, and fly in.
Yeah, it takes so long whenever you do that, yeah.
And then I got my shaman epic flying, and then they were like, we want your prop paladin in raid 1. And I was like, motherfuckers, dude. What the fuck?
Yeah, I told myself when I get...
You don't have it on any of your characters?
No, I don't have 5,000 gold. Where am I gonna get 5,000 gold? I'm busy.
From your chat. No.
I'm busy, man. I don't have 5,000 gold.
Just have a wealthy chat. They'll give you all the gold, right?
Oh, I'm excited though. When I get my gladiator mount and then I can't use it because I don't have 5,000 gold yet, that's when I'll be excited farming my 5,000 gold.
Yeah, see, it's not your fault, Snow. Your chat is just not an appreciative chat. They just don't give you free gold all the time, you know?
It's
like
true.
I watch Asmongold and it seems to be the normal like streamer dynamic. So yeah, I don't know. They're slacking.
Man, you got to be the right character and do arena boost. Apparently, that's how everyone gets gold. Because, man, when I do my twos with reality, sometimes he comes back the next week, and he's like, "Oh yeah."
Did he leave the twos?
Yeah, he leaves too, because you can just leave and such, which is what everyone does to play with everyone anyway. But he'll come back the next week, and I'll be like, "Hey man, what have you been doing the last week?" He's like, not much. I made 15,000 gold. You know, joined a few threes teams and boosted people in his ult, and it's like, man, if you're a warlock, you just make so much gold just boosting people in arena. It is actually absurd how much gold they make.
Oh yeah, you make so much gold. You can do it as like a mage too, right?
Yeah, Lock and Mage. They're just such good classes that fit with so much stuff, and they're strong.
And you control the game so heavily, like warlocks especially, because Curse of Tongues is just nasty. Like mages hate you. Like half the game, they have to just remove Curse of Tongues on paladins or shamans in 5s or even 3s. It's like and themselves classes can't cast, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, guys. Chat. Fun fact, by the way, if you want to know why we're doing it on Friday this week instead of Thursday, is because I was held captive in a 3-hour Resto Druid Warlock match. For the second time, because apparently that's what happens when you play Rogue Lock, is that you run into a lot of matchups where you die and you just have your Warlock versus a Resto Druid who refuses to leave for 3 hours. And the plan did not go according to plan. We even got Chanimal in the chat with us to explain the strategy. And it seems if you're not really good with meleeing the enemy, so the strategy for that comp, by the way, if you have a Resto Druid that doesn't leave, is you start meleeing them. And about 90 minutes in, all their gear will break, and then you can kill them because they'll have like no HP, no mana, etc. because all their arena gear broke. But it seems if they hit you back, and you're not on the ball with hitting them, they break your gear before you break their gear.
Yep.
So what we found is Reality's gear was all red before the Druid's gear was all red, and then he got killed by accidentally being so tired after 3 hours of running around in circles when he suicide tapped himself. So that was not an ideal end to 3 hours. Yeah, not an ideal end to 3 hours of running in a circle. But I will say, very good content for people to watch. The entire 3 hours, we were betting on what the max viewership was going to be.
You really enjoy content where you don't have to do shit. Like I'm telling you, it's called being a just chatting streamer. Like if you could just sit there and be a React Andy, just react to 3 hours of arena, then you could be like, all right, that's it for the day. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Like you just have popcorn and be one of the boys. You're just a. Oh, it was
great. I went and got a Coke. I went downstairs and got an ice cream as well. It was good times. It was really good.
I remember when you were watching my raid too.
Yeah.
It was
yeah. Oh yeah, I had popcorn. Actually, I actually had popcorn when I was watching your raid. I literally went and got popcorn. That was good times. Yeah.
I never want to remember that raid ever again. It was bad times, dude. Bad times.
I mean, speaking of arena, did you see the 5-week late blue post from Blizzard?
No. What was that? You mentioned that.
So you know how what was it like two episodes ago? Whatever, we talked about the Warlock hit stuff, where Warlocks were just realizing, wait, I'm missing more. Is something wrong? And they went and tested it, and they found out, wait, now you can't overcap against other people's talents for hit. Well, Blizzard released a blue post, and I have it here on the screen for people, that basically says they sneakily, like 5 weeks ago or something, they fixed it where excess spell hit can no longer be used to cancel out the effects of talents that resist certain mechanics, such as Unbreakable Will or like Rogue Heightened Senses. So apparently this is the way it was, but at like most of TBC until 2.4.3.
That's actually big.
Yeah, it's actually big. But we don't know about it because they told us 5 weeks later.
Because because like rogues, you go over the normal cap in arenas, right?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
do.
you go to like 8% or something like that
it's
to like deal with mages.
it's only for spell hit though, which
Oh,
is the
okay.
is the interesting thing. So it's still for rogues, we still go above the 5%.
Wait, do druids have a talent that helps them with that shit, right? It's balance of power.
Oh, okay.
It's
What's balance of power do?
Yeah, increases your chance to hit with all spells and reduces the chance you'll be hit by spells by 2%, and it's a 2 talent points, so 4%.
Ah.
But a lot of people get like 1 point in it.
Yeah, well, I mean, now they know. Access spell hit is no longer used to cancel out the effects of talents. And
nutty.
and did you see the rogue one though? You didn't see the rogue one?
For
Cloak of
for
Shadows
what?
is now officially 90% in PvP. They just made it 90%.
90% on the tooltip?
On the actual game now. Now it matches the tooltip. It is actually 90% in PvP instead of like the 80 that was in PvP last season. And this was apparently also changed 5 weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's been feeling better, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I definitely felt something was there. So because I wasn't complaining about it as much. I wasn't complaining about shit going through.
Yeah. Yeah, it's man, these are the things that it'd be really nice if Blizzard could just let us know about these things, you know, when they do them.
Yeah.
I don't understand why it takes them 5 weeks and for people to test stuff before some dev says, oh yeah, by the way, we fixed that 5 weeks ago. That's why you guys are seeing these weird behavior now. It'd just be nice that we had a little bit of communication there.
Yeah, I don't know why it took so long for this to come out. It just seems like an oversight.
Yeah.
Or them not communicating.
Well, it feels like they maybe someone thought it was announced and they didn't announce it, or they just changed it and no one thought to announce it until people started talking about the spell hit stuff.
Nobody thought to announce it.
Yeah, it's almost like they could hire someone to do these things for them, but no, they've chosen this approach. But speaking of WoW and how it's doing, we have the New World is kind of dying very fast. The WoW killer.
I mean, MMORPGs always do. You get to end game. What's the end game? Oh, there is no end game, or there's not enough content out. Like it's just how it goes. Like I said before, that WoW survived for so long because it came out at a time where people are not being taken from like a main game already. Like the people who are playing New World, they're coming from a different game because it's not like, oh, it's my first game. For a lot of people, it's, oh, I was playing like League of Legends is my main game. I was playing Valorant. I was playing X, Y, or Z. I was playing WoW. So as soon as it's like, it doesn't have your attention anymore, you go back to that game. So as soon as you run out of any content to do, you just jump back. And it's just a natural thing. It's very easy to go back to your old game. Very easy.
Yeah, there's a lot of viral videos right now going around where people are talking about the problems that honestly existed already, but I think it's a weird time because the actual launch of New World was huge. The actual numbers for New World, the all-time peak was 913,000 people on Steam were playing it. Was the peak. Huge numbers for a game. Giant MMO launch. Now it's half that basically. They've halved those numbers since the release.
That's
It's still
huge.
very substantial, though. You know, it's still very
still
substantial. Although it's dying. It's more and more people are hitting endgame and then running into the same program we just described, where they hit endgame, they have nothing to do, and New World has a lot of bugs, and endgame content isn't really figured out or enough endgame content to keep people interested, and they're kind of running out. And now is where all the bad press in the last week has been coming out. With I saw Asmongold made a video about it as well, where he confronted some people, and it's just the same old MMO story where people hit endgame, they have nothing to do, and if they don't have enough to do, they go back to the original game. But the problem I've been seeing though with WoW is that we're not really getting that much people back. We went up 0.5%. We went back up 0.5%. So not a great increase.
Half a percentage, poggers.
Yeah, I guess we take that, even though we got hit by a much bigger decline. The problem I've been saying to my chat as well with the people coming back to WoW is that the way WoW is set up right now is that if you leave your guild, there's a good chance that if enough people leave, your guild kind of starts dying, and then they can't maintain raid numbers enough, so the guild collapses. And then even if you come back later, it's not like your guild's there. Your guild's gone, and you're gonna have to join another guild and another raid. And a lot of people, once you're out of the MMO hold, it's hard to get them back in sometimes because they finally detached from the MMO.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, just checking like all the servers. There's definitely like a downtick 2 weeks ago. Yeah, like 3 weeks ago was like the peak. The game was basically still growing. When I look at, like, or at least the big servers were still growing. Yeah. And then it's like a big dip, and then it's almost recovered. So
yeah. It's interesting that it went down and it came back up again like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people like played New World, ditched their raid, and then they'll be coming back next week. Like it just happens, right? Like I know a lot of people were like lost to New World but they're like wanting to come back. So. But it's not everybody right now. Some servers just had like downticks and like don't recover.
Yeah. So. I mean, it's like the main servers, like the Faerlinas, the Benedictions and such, which can recover because they have that giant player base. The interesting thing about TBC is that it's very raid loggable. So even if you don't play that much, and we talked about this before, it's weird where in a time in WoW where you can be a casual WoW player and still get everything done. If especially if you only have one character, if you only have one character, you probably don't have a lot to do a lot of the times right now. You pretty much raid log once you get to a certain point, and there's not a whole lot for you to do unless you PvP.
Yeah, and PvP is kind of the filler content. I agree. It's something that I've known since the beginning with it, because you aren't going to do your dailies, and that's the thing that keeps you on. It's all the PvP. You have to enjoy PvP, and WoW is a PvP game at the end of the day, right? Like even if you think about Classic, it was what filled the time in between. Like, yeah, it was getting world buffs,
farming arcane crystals and Silithus,
getting money, which is always a pastime, getting money, and then raid logging and not playing the game, but also PvP. So, yeah. Which I would argue getting arcane crystals can be PvP sometimes.
It is true. You find out which guys were the actual bots in Silithus when you were running around, which guys were actually defending themselves. But it is interesting that even though there's a lot of Doom talk, and myself included, I've seen a lot of decline in WoW, the raid numbers are actually fairly healthy still. It's just interesting to see how this will go long term, whether people will start burning out more. But it's interesting to see that the numbers, at least on the big servers, are still good. Maybe not so much on the little servers.
I was going to say, last phase, it was like 16, 17 weeks. And when I go back to Classic and I look at like how long AQ was, right? In phase 5, AQ was 14 weeks, right? Yeah. Naxxramas was 18, 19 weeks, right? So it's like right now we're at maybe a third of the way through the phase. If you think about it from a perspective of like, this is about to be week 6, right? Yeah. So we're potentially a third of the way or more than a third of a way through the phase, depending on if it's 14 weeks or anywhere in between then, right? 14 to 18. So I wonder if it'll be still a like 14, 15, 16 week phase. That's the thing that's interesting to me, because PvPers, obviously, there's that whole thing with, Black Temple is like a really big instance to drop. Same with Hyjal. But the PvPers are always like, we need more time to get our full set. Like the fucking people get their full. People are hitting like 3 pieces right now, 4 pieces this week.
Yeah,
I think like the top PvPers are hitting like 4 pieces of Merciless Gladiator this week without getting weapon or anything like that, because like warriors don't need Storm Herald.
If they have like a good 5s team,
they need Storm Herald. Sorry,
3 or 5s.
Exactly. But if you're not one of those people, if you're like a threes player, you're like hitting three pieces this week. So there's a point where it's like you're just lining it up almost perfectly with you get everything you really want by the end of the phase as like a normal PvPer, right? And like only the top people are like really completing their merciless gladiator set right before the phase ends, which I think is actually pretty cool. Because back in the day, I remember it was like harder to get things, right? It was harder to get shoulders. It was harder to get X, Y, and Z. But granted, phases lasted longer, but it was something where you saw someone with shoulders that was cool. Now it's like, easier to get 2K, but having somebody have like full merciless gladiator, you're like, oh, that person's been like PvP in the entire phase and like all that. So you can like tell almost immediately if you're running them in PvP. So I wonder how long this next phase will be is basically what I'm getting at, because 6 weeks in out of potentially 18 or 14, the new content is like not too far off. Probably 2.5 months, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this kind of goes into the topic, the last topic I had, which is what would you say is your ideal timeline and for WoW right now? What would you say is the ideal? Because the thing about Blizzard is they haven't given us any timeline, so we're just guessing based on past timelines. What would you have as your ideal timeline for the rest of TBC?
I do feel like phase 1 really burned a lot of people out, and you really want to keep people engaged, and you want to give PvP a long enough time. I would say what you do is you do this next phase in 2.5 months, 3 months. So you basically give them like 12 more weeks, or like 10 to 12 more weeks, and then you release Black Temple Hyjal. I would say 7 weeks into Black Temple Hyjal, you should release Zul'Aman. And you should release like Executioner. It'll also make it easier for people to complete the content when they have better gear from Zul'Aman, catch up mechanics, etc. That's what I think. And then you should do 7 weeks of that to 8 weeks, maybe more. And then release Sunwell, because the reason I think you should do Black Temple for like 7-8 weeks and then do Zul'Aman is arena seasons, right? That's going to be season 3. If you do 14, 15, 16 weeks of season 3, and then you do Black Temple at the same time, if you release Zul'Aman at the end of that, what's going to happen to the arena season? Is that just going to be an abnormally long arena season? Right? What are you going to do? Are you going to release Zul'Aman and like season 4 for a few weeks before Sunwell's even out, which I don't think will happen. I think they want to do like 8 weeks of like Black Temple and then 8 weeks of Zul'Aman being out, which will help people get into Black Temple and help people like gear alts for it and even take the content down. And then I think you end the season and then do season 4 with the start of Sunwell. So that's what I think should happen. I think they should stick to these 14 to 18 week cadences, because I've been okay with it. It's just fucking phase 1 was so bad. It's like it was phase 1 was so bad from every aspect of the game, because the first problem was you don't have entryway into PvP, right? There's like, it's honor gated. If you didn't farm honor earlier, then you're screwed. So it's so hard to get into PvP. If you're late to getting arena points, then it might as well give up because you're never going to complete your shit. And then if you end up doing PvE, it's like you do 2 things and you're fucking done, and then you do Karazhan. So it's like it was just really bad. It was just really bad, and it got people like really burnt out on like not being engaged with the game, because it felt bad to PvP and it felt bad to PvE for 30 minutes a week. So that was, I think, kind of gave people a lot of opportunity to disengage with the game. But I mean, granted, the big servers have only been getting bigger, and I know like people are funneling there, but I wonder what the overall numbers look like.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's the interesting thing, is because like on one hand we see the players on the big servers are just not going down; it's going up, because but that's because like a lot of these other smaller servers are dying.
Mm-hmm.
So it may not necessarily be like, it looks like these servers are doing really well, like Whitemane's doing really well, Faerlina's doing really well, Firema's doing really well, but the smaller they're coming from somewhere. They're coming from like.
Are you clicking? Are you clicking through right now?
Yeah, I'm clicking through and showing people.
Yeah.
They're like coming from old Blanchy potentially, and we don't know. We kind of have to see whether these other servers survive or not.
People came
Right.
from old Blanchy. No, thank you. No.
The Scarum. Oh, Scarum's one that died recently. Yeah, you can see.
Oh yeah.
They're coming from
That's
like
why they're here.
Scarum and such. The servers that are dying, and then they're coming over to the whitemanes and Faerlinas and Firemores.
But that's also the same time that, like, that's the thing, right? Is 2 weeks ago it dipped because of New World, right?
Yeah.
We just left Crom Crush. Yeah, Crom Crush I think is the other one too, where I think like Who came over, like Space Force came over from Scarum, stuff like that. So yeah, I think a lot of just serious Horde PvPers or Horde guilds went, okay, we got to go to Faerlina, we got to go to one of these bigger servers, and that's it, right? Dude, there's literally 0 Alliance players.
yeah,
What? Dude, imagine transferring from Crom Crush and seeing an Alliance player for the first time. You're like, what the fuck is this, dude? Like, people play this?
They're adding new content to WoW. Look at these
Whoa,
guys.
What the fuck? Holy shit, it's a little guy. Being in Shatrath and seeing gnomes. Oh, man. Damn.
Yeah, these.
But,
I mean, it's because Blizzard also. I think people also know that Blizzard doesn't have a history of merging servers very efficiently. So at some point, they do have to throw in the towel if they want to have the WoW experience. They got a server move. There's no two ways around it.
I mean, their server merging has always been these servers can funnel into this one server by free transfer. You can all transfer off these shit servers and go to this one. And like, if you miss that window, because they don't leave it open forever, it's like, well, I got to pay for it now, or like not play with anybody because it's a dead server. But it's just like, you guys could just move everybody from that server. It should be okay. Like, I mean, it's a lot to do, but yeah. I don't think people would complain too much if their server closed down and they merged servers to have a better experience, as long as they kept everything, like moving a guild over. Because I know they have the tech to move a guild over.
But on the topic of the what were we talking about before? The timeline, your timeline and such.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's man, the tricky thing is always that they always have to balance it with PvP at the same time, right? Is that it always has to balance with PvP, because they can't just have people in the middle of the PvP season. By the way, here guys, here's new weapons in the middle of your season, and suddenly it's just made the other half of the season meaningless.
I mean, it would literally mean if Zolomon came out as the start of season 4, every warrior in their fucking mom would have to farm PvP gear, because it would be your best in PvE for the start of like Sunwell, right? And the weapons would just be grossly overpowered compared to like everything else except for like Warglaves. So yeah, if you were like a min-maxer, you would be farming PvP before the opening of Sunwell.
But it's also so tricky, because I also understand the people that don't want to be in the they want to beat all the content. And there's always the two camps. So there's people that beat it really quickly, and then they're like, well, what do I do for the next 3 months? We already beat everything. Can we get
now
we
can play the game?
Please? Yeah. What are we doing now for the next 3 months? But then we have to keep in mind that this is probably the first time when we might go into the next phase, and the average guild might not have beaten Vashj. Vashj is a hard boss. Vashj is legitimately a hard boss, especially if you're on the 2 raid a night, like 2 raids a week guild. Beating Vashj on that timeline as a non-hardcore guild actually takes a lot of effort and planning and such, and not that every average guild is going to beat that.
Yep. No, I agree.
Yeah, especially with like roster issues as well. It's
roster issues, and then the big thing I think is probably one of the biggest. I guess one of the biggest things I've run into in non-hardcore raids that I've been in like, you know, the last few phases is when you get new people, you have to explain the fight again. And that is really hard for KT and Vashj, because people don't come in doing their own shit. So you have to like explain the fight to them so they don't wipe you with con flag or something. And you have to explain exactly their role to them, and like hold their hand the entire way, which isn't like terrible, but people really should. If you're joining like a new raid and you haven't done that before, please look at it. Guides, watch Snow's stream if you're a rogue. I would like recommend, right?
Except when I play daggers, don't watch those streams.
Definitely go daggers for first impression. Definitely go daggers. Mm. Yeah, just tell. And when they say, "What the fuck are you doing?" say, "Snowy did it."
The make sure you say Snowy, the number one rogue on whitemane passes for assassination.
Yeah, Snowy did it. He's like a number 10 rogue in the world for mutilate.
Yeah. But yeah, the tricky thing about those fights as well is that they have mechanics where sometimes you might pull 10 times in a row and the mechanic never hits that one character. So that one guy may have never experienced this particular mechanic, like the gaze on phase 1 of KT. It might take a whole bunch of pulls before that person actually ever gets gazed, and he just doesn't know he's been standing in a wrong spot the entire time. And it hasn't happened until that one time it happens, and suddenly it's his reason that he just died in phase 1 for no reason.
Yep. You just need to do it one time, die one time, and you're never gonna do it again, right? Right? It's like, please. Please.
It's interesting. We had a fun moment in my last KT raid where our guild lead was saying, "Hey guys, I don't think we should swap the warlocks around constantly. The warlock who tanks in Capernaum, because he just wants to like look. We've only been doing KT for a few weeks. We might not have him fully clean yet. Let's stick with the same warlock who knows how to do it." And of course, the warlocks at the time are like, nah, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. It's not too hard. He can do it. And literally on the next pull, the warlock tries to move him for no reason, and the entire raid gets conflagged. And my guild lead is just silent. Just the silence of disappointment because they refuse.
He'll be fine.
He refused to do it.
He'll be fine. Famous words before a disaster.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like mechanics like that, I just don't know any warlock that tanks it the first time correctly. They just have to get used to the movement and all the different mechanics if it's the first time tanking in particular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's different, and some people will get conflagged still, right? They'll eat a conflag because they're too close, or they don't get aggro right away and it starts running. Because I found like the best way to do it is to be in conflag range at the start, and then shadow burn into death coil while you're jumping backwards, because shadow burn has a smaller range than shadow bolt or searing pain. So you start it by just spamming shadow burn. Once you have that, you just jump away into like 40-yard range and you death coil while you're doing that for 2 hits, and then you start searing pain when you land. So that seems to be the best way to do it, because she won't move at all. So I like that a lot personally.
Oh, and you also have the passes who haven't been punished yet. I was watching one shaman on my last KT in my other guild, and he would go through close to get the totem down on Capernaum and then run out like really quickly again. And every time I see that, I think, man, you're gonna get punished so hard one day for trying to do that on phase 1, especially when it doesn't matter. You're trying to get a little extra totem damage in. You are going to die horribly one day, my friend, and all you're gonna wipe the whole raid because you're trying to go pump your DPS meter a little bit.
My favorite is when like I'm doing that on my rogue, and somebody sends their hunter pet in. And and trolls me because like I'm going out and the hunter pet's coming in, and then I come back in and it's arcane explosions going off, and the hunter pet then comes out, and I'm like, oh motherfucker, dude, like he's trolling me. It's like only one person can do it. Only one person can do the melee.
The best thing about the hunter pet going in though is it shows you the hunters that only have that one button macro and they have never changed it, because we found out which hunters were the hunter swaps using the one button macro. On our first KTs. Yeah, like because they're constantly seeing the pet go in, and we have to yell at him, "Hey, dude, your pet, get your pet back." He just keeps going back and forth. Yeah,
and they don't want to change the macro because they just rather keep pressing the comeback button or whatever it is, a passive.
But yeah.
Well, oh god, that stuff is ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay, so to finish up today, I do have a question. What changes would you bring in right now to WoW? If like they give you full control, they said, look, Zirene, we know, look, we're screwing up WoW. We're screwing up WoW. You can fix it now. We give you full power for TBC. What do you do? What are the changes you do? Because this was, by the way, the topic, chat. This was the topic that I was talking to chat about before Zirene got on the call today, and that's why chat was arguing. Because people have a lot of opinions on what should be changed in WoW to save it, or if things should be changed in WoW. So what Zirene's thinking, I can give you guys my list.
God, like the thing is, it's all small shit.
But it's lot of small things.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, I would make like, Curse of Elements work for Ellie Shamans, I'd make Curse of Elements work for Ellie Shamans. I would want like, Druids to be able to bark skin in bear form just because it gives them a fucking defensive there. But I would make it like, worse than it is, etc. So it's like less annoying in PvP. There's a lot of things.
So I'll give you some of mine, which is mine is with a help of chat. I have a few. Mine is one, give people a timeline, like just straight up. Why is there not a timeline for TBC? So
you're talking. Plan? Okay, I thought I was just in charge of changes. I wasn't in charge.
Oh, you're in charge of everything. You can you're in charge of
communicate with the fucking player base. Communicate with the fucking player base. Have patch notes. Do patch notes. Do like have something that communicates to the players, whether it's a video as well on top of the patch notes, because people don't always look at those things. Have a dialogue with players. Talk to creators more and like actually show the conversations instead of just have them behind closed doors. Like, see, people want to see you interacting with creators. So that just right off the top of my head for all of these things, because there's just nobody talking to us in general.
Yeah.
So
like even just like, man, hire just one person who's gonna be interacting with the community, interacting with the people, not just like a forum guy. Right now what they have is like the forum guy who just posts on the forum sometimes. And that seems to be our communication with them. It'd be really great if we could get, man, just like Zirene said, the starter is just give us a timeline of the rest of TBC so that at least we know what's coming up. We know how the game's gonna develop. How many weeks do we have? When's the arena season like gonna end? So we can plan out our spending and such.
I don't know if I would go that far as to give them the full timeline of TBC, because I feel like people freak out when they know like when the end is coming of something, right? It allows, like, if we're a few weeks away from the end of the season, people like care less about PvE, care more about PvP, and I think it should just be announced instead of. I think it should be announced in the middle of the season when it's going to end. I don't think you do it like.
Okay, so not you want a full timeline, but you want ample notice.
Yeah, I'm gonna quit until this day where Black Temple comes out. That type of thing.
I mean, interestingly enough, that's what they're basically doing with Season of Mastery, right? They're giving people the end date and the cadence of the releases and everything.
Because it's a ladder. Because it's like Diablo or like Path of Exile with ladders, right? So
yeah. But man, getting the creators on board as well, having someone like someone who talks with them and them having the understanding that the creators are the advertising. I was talking to chat to this before, how these days the way it works with content creators and streamers and such is that your creators are your lead generation. If people know marketing terms, your lead generation is where you get the viewers, where you get the eyeballs onto your product and such, and convert them down like the marketing funnel of like, oh, they get the viewers, then they become players of the game. Some of those guys become hardcore, they spend money, etc., etc. And it feels like Blizzard just doesn't care about that funnel at all right now. They do not care about the content creators. A lot of content creators are just in depression mode when they make WoW content because it feels like there's no future for them. And fair enough, because it's like right now the way Blizzard has responded, it doesn't feel like there's a long-term future in that. And yeah, man, if they could just change the sentiment, just have the creators actually feel like they have a future if they make WoW content, would be really great if they just interacted with us more and such.
Yeah.
But
I 100% agree. 100% agree. I don't think they understand the impact of creators, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. And then there's a lot of stuff I would want to change. I want to get drums, for the love of God. Can we fix drums?
Why are they the way they are still?
Make drums easy or something. I don't know, man. Like, why do we have the scuff drums still? Let's get rid of those or fix them or something.
So it's just so bad.
Put in dual spec. because at this stage I don't know a good argument against dual spec. What do you have to lose at this point? Just put it in. I would actually remove scrolls completely. It's like a weird one that they left scrolls in for some reason. If you're gonna like either like let the buffs in or don't let the buffs in, when it's like this weird no man's land with the scrolls where they said they didn't want any of this extra stuff, but then we have scrolls for some reason because it looks like they forgot to include scrolls.
It's an oversight, yeah.
Yeah, it was an oversight, but they haven't fixed it, so we have scrolls still as a buff, which doesn't make sense. So people are still sometimes required to use scrolls. They should just take them away, in my opinion. Get rid of them if they want to go to full distance. I would put the Vashj item back in, the attunement item back in the game right now, because attunements are a pain in the butt. People don't want to do them, or it's hard to catch up new people right now because people hate doing those heroics. You're basically just doing them just for that guy who needs to get attuned these days. So yeah, I think they need to make the catch up attunement faster now. I don't know why it's not already in. I think they should just put it in right now. Those attunement mechanics.
I like those. I like all of those.
Yeah. I would probably want, this is a more of a bigger one, but I don't know if they can fix it. This is just like a side thing where I think they need to revamp to how the whole honor system works, because the way it's incentivized just doesn't work. But I know this is one where I don't know. They need to change the whole system somehow, because the way it's set up, just people don't like honor grinding. BGs are fun for like a couple sessions and then they get boring. Is the problem.
Yeah, but you only need to PvP until you don't. That's the thing. That's the problem with honor, is you only interact with the honor system until you don't have to anymore, and then you stop. So then when you stop and people get the gear they need, they don't queue, which makes it harder for the people who don't have gear to get gear because there's not enough people queuing. So it's a weird kind of cycle where people get ejected from the cycle, which makes it slower for the people left inside. Right? Yeah. Unless there's people who PvP and BG for fun. Who the fuck does that?
I do that for like one BG, and then after that it's no longer fun.
True.
Yeah. But
especially when it's like solo.
On the point of PvP, I think what they could do is they should remove the teams, in my opinion. Just get rid of the teams. It's already kind of half removed in that there's no placements anymore, but people still get locked in.
Arena. Okay,
for Arena. Yeah, I think they get rid of the teams for Arena because it's still a barrier in that there's the big problem is there's not enough people, partners and such. It's hard to find partners. It's hard to find skilled partners and such. And really, if you're new to Arena, what you really have to do these days is you have to find someone who's way better than you, who will hold your hand and teach you everything and play with you a lot. And then you can get to the level where you suddenly have people to play with, because now the good players will play with you because they know you're good now. But to get to that point, you need one of them to hold your hand and get you there. It is the problem. And I don't even blame the good players who don't want to necessarily play with a new player, because it's not as fun when they're constantly doing everything right and they lose because your partner is doing the wrong thing constantly.
Yeah.
Right?
It's not really bad.
Yeah, it's not their fault that they don't want to play with those people. But at the same time, that also limits the people coming in, because the new people can't get to that level without having their hand held. So I think they need to do something about that. Removing teams would be a start. I think they need to do something about maybe even cross realm just for Arena or something, because man, right now, like we were talking earlier, everyone goes to Faerlina. You want a PvP, you have to be on Faerlina, basically, especially if you're Horde, because otherwise, good luck finding a partner. Good luck finding like a high quality partner. And the problem with a low quality partner as well is that one, your commitment level has to be the same as that guy if you want to improve. And the second part is sometimes you don't know whether you're doing the thing wrong or your partner's doing the thing wrong. If something doesn't work out and you lose, sometimes you just don't know. But if you're with someone who's really, really good, you can have some level of confidence that, okay, they probably know if they did something wrong. So it was probably my mistake. I got to fix it. But it's really rough. I have rogues who whisper me who they're like 16, 1700 rated. And they're like, Snow, like you're at 2.2k. What should I do here? And I'm like, I don't know. It might be your partner doing this wrong. I need a VOD. I need this, like, there's so many things that could be going wrong. And they can't even analyze themselves whether it's their fault sometimes, because they don't have the experience and their partner doesn't have the experience.
I mean, if they did, then they wouldn't be asking you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
if they did have that like ability to self-assess.
Yeah. So it's just really rough. I feel for the people that want to get into the PvP who can't, because the entry level is so hard to get into it, really. And I guess the last one is I would reduce RNG a little bit just for PvP. Why is the diminishing returns a random number between like 15 and 20, I think it is, or something like that? Why isn't it just 18? Just make it 18. Because when you make diminishing returns between 15 and 20 seconds, what it does is I just set mine to 20 seconds because it feels bad anytime I don't wait the 20 seconds and I open and I'm still on like stun diminishing returns. So you should just make it constant so people don't have that guessing game, at least. Because it feels bad if they lose that guessing game. But
I can get with that.
Yeah. I do know a lot of PvPers, though, do not like the amount of RNG in TBC in particular, with like resist and things.
Resist!
Yeah,
yeah.
The resist and the RNG. And heartbeat. You can just throw that out. Get rid of heartbeat.
Heartbeat. Still heartbeat. It's weird. It's crazy. Like I agree with all of that. It's actually funny because they have reduced RNG when I look back at like patches, because like, for example, paladins are really, really bad right now, like in 2s and 3s, holy pallies. But this is like a version of paladin that in season 1 they were actually a little bit stronger than they are now, because Imp Conqueror wasn't 30% reduction to interrupts and silences. It was 30% additional chance to resist interrupts and silences. So you could actually like counterspell a paladin and it would just resist. You could kick them and it would resist the interrupt, right? So it's like stuff like that, where if you wanted to shift the things that are resist to reduce duration, then that would be like one of the things you could do, where like priests, instead of like fucking 25% chance to resist stuns or something like that, it could be like, reduce stun time, right? So
yeah,
remove the RNG and just increase the resilience against things. I know I'm using that word here and it's a fucking thing in the game. So make it so that they have like reductions to those things as opposed to resistances, to just flat out get rid of it. Because ultimately what you're saying is, if I am kidney shotting you 4 times and you have a 25% chance to resist, you will resist one of those kidney shots, right? You'll be stunned 25% less than if you didn't have that. So if I were to stun you for 24 seconds and you had a talent that reduced it by 25%, it would be the same result. So basically you're taking in 25% less stuns as opposed to full resisting it. It's exactly the same over the course of an entire game, but it's more, it's less RNG and it can't high roll.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you want to get the
thing.
Yeah, and it can't low roll. You can't low roll into it because, man, sometimes it feels bad when you play things perfectly and then RNG screws you over for no reason, and then that's what feels bad. So yeah, but yeah, I mean that's what I would change, at least. That's my little list of things I would change. I
agree with all of those. I think I don't really have pushback on any of them.
Yeah, I just wish like the starting point would just be getting all the creators on board and getting people on board, changing the feeling of the game so that it's not like not everyone feels like doom and gloom. I think that just be such a big thing. Make it so people are happy to be playing WoW and happy to be making WoW content at the same time and such. Versus all your biggest videos on WoW right now are like, WoW is dying. This is why WoW sucks. 5 reasons WoW is going to die in the next 2 years, etc., etc. Right? You definitely definitely not the sentiment you want in your game, and they have the power to change that if they wanted to.
Yeah, but will they?
Oh no, Zirene, I've done a bad thing. I put the depressing topic at the end.
You motherfucker! No, I'm just kidding. Oh no.
But yeah, I think that's all I got for today, though. Zirene, you got anything else?
No, that's it. Aside from like we talked about it a little bit at the start, but it was just the thing of the Blizzard.
Yes, the Blizzard thing. Rating. That's right. I mean, this is relevant to what we were talking about anyway, where it's like, Yeah, for people that didn't see, so Mike Ybarra, am I saying his last name right? Is
No clue.
I thought you were about to correct me then. But yeah, it's actually this Snow.
Actually, no.
Yeah, so he made a tweet basically saying like, "Hey, yeah, I'm gonna stream my heroic Sanctum sales run, high end Mythic Plus, etc., etc." And he is literally managed like high up in Blizzard. He's high up in Blizzard, and he's people are saying that he is part of the problem, really, which is interesting because on one hand, as Irene mentioned this earlier when we were talking about it, it's nice that high end people in Blizzard are playing their game, right? To see that high end people in Blizzard are playing the game, it's refreshing. It's nice to see that, hey, okay, maybe some of them actually do play their own game. But at the same time, I also, obviously some people are gonna push back about the fact that, oh wait, you're playing your game, but you're doing the one thing that's breaking the game in a lot of people's eyes.
Yeah, it's like people are saying they're like out of touch with their own product type thing, and I'm like, I'm not sure just how much it means they're out of touch with it. I'm more in the camp of like, I like it that they have people who are high end raiders, that they understand what the high end player experience is like. But I do get that it feels like they're feeding into the problem of it's become a pay to win game, and people don't like that. You buy the WoW token, get gold, use that gold and pay a Blizzard dev who's going to carry you through shit, right? Like it's essentially pay to win. It is pay to win in that sense. You could just make a new character and just pay these guys to carry you through. So people don't like that because you don't have to farm the gold, you don't have to do anything like that. You just swipe the card. So that's what they think is the problem, and they think they're kind of hiding behind WoW token as like a non-pay to win thing, like not admitting it, but they are essentially using in-game things to make it pay to win, and he is doing that. So I can understand why people are upset. I just think that there's got to be a better solution than just saying like because if I'm sure he's not in charge of the solution, right? Like, it's like blaming somebody on the skins team for how bad the League of Legends client is. It's like completely irrelevant.
Yeah. Zirene still has connections to Riot Games, guys. Make sure you send all your complaints about League of Legends to Zirene, especially anything bad that happens at Worlds. Send that to Zirene. He will get that fixed for you.
Yeah. I will use all of my zero coding knowledge to fix the game, which apparently goes in line with how much coding knowledge they've had already. So we're well on our way. I do think that it ultimately, I guess what I'm getting at here is I think that people have a right to be outraged, but I just don't think that the level at which they are upset by this is correct or in line with what he's doing, right? Yeah. He's literally doing what every high-end Mythic Raider is doing. Unless you're going to say that every high-end Mythic Raider is ruining the game, then it's hard to just because he's a Blizzard dev, right? That's the thing. Is just because he's a Blizzard dev doing it makes it even worse for them because they feel like that's what ruined the game for them. So like I said, I understand the outrage. I just don't think that the magnitude of it is appropriate, right? I think you have the right to be upset, but not as much as people seem to be about it. I think high-end raiders came out and like defended him too, and they were like, this is kind of like he's just playing the game. If you're saying that like a Blizzard employee shouldn't take advantages of systems in their own game, like it's kind of weird, man. Like it's not exploiting or anything like that. It's just literally using a player-driven economy in a certain way. So
but yeah, that's kind of all we got for you guys today. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate it. We will try not to end on depression topics next time.
Are they still arguing? Did that stop?
No. Chat's still arguing. The chat's still arguing.
Perfect.
Yeah. Perfect. This is how you get engagement, guys. We just toss out some very controversial topics to the chat from time to time.
Chat is dumb. Debate.
It's just, yes, smiley face.
Oh, no. I guess I got them all to agree.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We will see you guys next week, hopefully. Take care.
See you guys.